What is going on, everybody? It is me again. It's HorrorFan34, and welcome to another video, and welcome to another review for the 31 Days of Horror Challenge in October. Now we are getting on to, I believe, day 15 of the challenge. I figured this would be another good one to talk about. I'm still sticking in the 80s here, going back though to 1986 though for this one. But we're reviewing a lot of 80s movies for this marathon of reviews, which is pretty good because the 80s is like my favorite decade of horror films. But I figured this would be one I haven't talked about yet before, and I figured this would be a good one to talk about for the month of October because it's sort of like it's pretty much another creature movie, pretty much sort of like a killer animal movie, and I think it's a pretty underrated one. And that review is going to be on this film, Link, An Experiment in Terror. Of course, that's the original VHS cover of the movie. But yeah, this is the one that's from Kino Lorber, Link. But Link is pretty much a killer monkey movie, sort of like in the vein of like Monkey Shines. Well, the predecessor pretty much to Monkey Shines with George Romero. Now, first off, with Link, it's directed by Richard Franklin. Now, Richard Franklin as a director, always thought he was a very solid director. Sadly, he's no longer with us anymore, sadly, but Richard Franklin did some pretty good stuff. Like, he did Road Games with Jamie Lee Curtis and Stacy Keach. He also directed Psycho 2, which is actually my personal favorite Psycho movie. And he also directed... Richard Franklin did something else, too. I can't remember for sure what it was. He did Psycho 2, Road Games, and I forget what else he did. I have IMDb right here, so I might as well just look it up. Because I know I'm missing something. Yeah, that's right. He did Effects 2, and he also did that. Remember that movie back in the day with Henry Thomas, Cloak and Dagger? That's the same guy that directed this film. Now, I'd probably say this is my third favorite film of his, behind Road Games and Psycho 2. It stars Elizabeth Shue, right there. I always thought Elizabeth Shue was a very solid actress. Loved her in the original Karate Kid, the Back to the Future movies, Piranha 3D, the remake, and she was also in Adventures in Babysitting. But she basically plays a young student who's a zoology student, and she gets a job as an assistant to this zoology professor, played by Terrence Stamp. Yep, Zod himself from Superman 2, the original Superman 2. Yeah, General Zod himself from the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. Yep, Terrence Stamp. And he is this zoology professor. She becomes his new assistant, and he takes her to go live in this house that he lives in with these 3 chimpanzees. One is called Imp. I forget what the other one was called. I don't know, but the other one is Link. And you sort of get like the idea that like Terrence Stamp's character is planning on putting to sleep one of these apes, and he's going to sell one off, and one thing leads to another. Terrence Stamp ends up disappearing, and then it's like sometime later, and pretty much Link, like one of the chimps is found dead. Like Terrence Stamp disappears, and then from there on, Link becomes more of an aggressive animal against Elizabeth Shue, and then Elizabeth Shue and her boyfriend have to survive from this killer monkey, Link. Now, the one thing with this film that is really strange, though, is that the character of Link is not a chimpanzee; it's an orangutan, but they call him a chimpanzee. So, like, even though it's not a chimpanzee, it's an orangutan, but I just go with it. But what I like about this film, first off, is the cast. I really like Elizabeth Shue and Terrence Stamp for the little bit that he's in. And the musical score is done by Jerry Goldsmith. I thought the score was very solid overall for Jerry Goldsmith. I always been a big fan of Jerry Goldsmith. I thought it was really well directed as well by Richard Franklin. Thought he had a nice direction with the film. Now the film isn't gory, so don't expect don't expect really any gore at all. But there's a couple of cool kills in the movie that are pretty cool. They're kind of more implied kills though that you don't see a whole lot, but you get the idea. Like there's this guy that gets pulled down this well, and there's a point where this guy Link puts his arm out through the mail slot, and you get the idea that the guy's arm got pulled off by Link. So, and you know, Ray Berwick, who was the ape trainer, did a really good job on training these apes, especially like some of the stuff they do in the movie. Like I thought they were really well trained, very very well, and I love the whole third act in the finale where Elizabeth Shue and her boyfriend have to survive and escape from Link. You have some pretty cool, intense moments, like the scene where the car almost gets pushed off the cliff, and the kill parts, like when the guy gets his arm pulled off, and the guy in the well. And you know, Elizabeth Shue does a good job as the lead. I've always been a big fan of Elizabeth Shue. And I know some people don't. Some people say they don't like the film because they feel like it's a little too slow. That is one little nitpick I will say with the movie, is that it is a little slow at certain times, or it's kind of like there's like some scenes where you're just kind of like, okay, you know, let's truck it along here a little bit. Let's move a little bit here. I think it could have been trimmed down a little bit, just a tiny bit, to get it more, not much slow. But even with those slow parts in the film, I still do enjoy the movie. Like I said, I really like the cast. I like the design of Link, you know, practical effects, because they're real apes, so it's not a bunch of CGI and all that stuff. This is back in 1986, and there was no such thing as CGI. I don't think back in the maybe there was, but it was still way in early development. But really do appreciate the fact that it's actual apes, so that makes it even cooler because it's practical. Like I said, I like Terrence Stamp, Elizabeth Shue. Very well done musical score by Jerry Goldsmith. Got some, and I'll tell you, like one of the coolest parts in the movie is like when the music's really good is when Elizabeth Shue was trying to get through the store. You know, Imp, open the door! But she barely gets out because Link is chasing her. And I really like the direction too that Richard Franklin did with this, where it's kind of like a POV shot of Link, like going towards Elizabeth Shue. I thought there were some nice looking POV shots. There were some really nice directing touches that Richard Franklin did. And, you know, I always thought Richard Franklin was a very solid director. You look at things like Road Games and things like that, he definitely puts those touches sort of like in this film. But if you want to see a pretty cool sort of like killer monkey movie, then I think it's worth a look. So that's pretty much it for my review for Link. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.